And now I'm going to start recording. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is go to my Word folder, go to my Packet1, and I'm going to go to Appleton. Now for Appleton, I have a completed version of it here, and I'm going to review a couple of things. First of all, this up here is a header, and a header or a footer, which a footer would be here at the bottom. Right now there's nothing on here. That is a separate part of the document. Now, you can do a shortcut by just double clicking and the view for the header will come up. Another way you do it is to go to View menu, go to Header and Footer, and that'll take you into the Header and Footer view. Now, when you're in this view right here, it's a little different with your tab. You got your cursor starts here on the left, and you could type. I'll type in my name. And then when I hit tab, the tab goes to the middle of the header, or if you're in a footer. Now, if there's something I wanted to type there, I would put there. If not, just leave it. I press tab again. Okay, now I can put the date. Now, I could type a date manually, but I'm going to review here inserting date and time. So I go up here to insert. I go to date and time, which is way down here, about 3/4 away near the bottom. And if you got the previous version of Microsoft Word, it's near the top if I remember right. Then they have a whole bunch of formats for date and time. Now some have date and time, some are time only, some are date. Now I'm going to just use the first one right here. And I could click the little box to update automatically. What that means is every time I open the document, it'll automatically put in that day's date. If I want the date to stay one date, then I don't want that box selected. Okay, I'm going to click to update automatically. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. So there's today's date. Now here I could do, now to get out of the header, oh by the way, in our class every time we put something in a header or footer, I want it 9-point and italic. Now you might notice up here we have various menus. We have Home, Insert, Draw, Design, Layout, Reference, Mailings, Review, View, Acrobat, and Header and Footer. Now, even though there's a lot more stuff you can do in the header and footer than I covered there, we're going to go back to the home, which is over here, which is what it's usually on. We're going to use the default font, just leave the Cambria there, and change the size to 9-point, and click on the italic button. So this is where you got your font menu. Everyone should know that. You got your sizes. For those that don't know, 72-point is an inch. 36-point would be 1/2 of an inch. So then 9-point would be 1/4 of that, 1/2 of an inch. Okay, I'm not going to cover all that in this video, but there's obviously a lot of settings up here. Now to get out of this view, you could just double click down here, or you can go to the view menu, deselect header and footer, and it'll bring you back in normal view. Now for here, I'm going to put the date in there, but a lot of times when you go to put a date in, you want to use your tabs so you can line it up nice and neat. Now if you have not set any custom tabs, tabs will always be at 1/2 of an inch when you're not in the header or the footer. So I just going to go tab, 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 tab. I'm going to go up to the 4-inch mark. Now if anybody doesn't see the ruler, just to review here, all the documents we make, unless I tell you otherwise, are going to be in the print layout view, which under the view menu is the first one. And your ruler should be selected right there. So you should have your ruler selected so you can see it, and we're in print layout. Okay, now when we're at the 4-inch mark here, I could either manually type the date or I can insert it. Now this one had the day with it. We normally don't do that, but we'll do it on this one just to show what that looks like. So I clicked on the second option here. I hit OK. Now that came in quite huge for some weird reason. Probably because at some point I must have had a bigger font up there. So I'm going to change that back to 12-point. And I'm going to change it back to not bold. And that should fit in there okay. Okay. Now if I decide that's too far over, I can click here, go back. Maybe 3.5 would be a better. If you want to move it back a tab, just put your cursor and hit delete. Now the date here is pretty straightforward. You hit return after each line. After the state, New York, in this case New York, you put 2 spaces. You got Dear Ms. Appleton. Now, this one here we got several paragraphs that do not have a first line indent, but I'm going to use this document to show you how to do first line indents. Okay, I'm just going to highlight these first two paragraphs for the point of demonstrating this. I'm going to go up here to Format, and this is the paragraph dialog box. Now in the paragraph dialog box, you can do the alignment, which could be left, centered, right, justified. This is for any paragraphs that you selected. You can also, if you're doing one paragraph, just click in it. You don't have to highlight it all. I'm going to do two paragraphs here, so I highlighted those. Now, if you're going to indent the entire paragraph, you would use this part right here, left and right. We're not going to do that on these, but we are going to do a first line indent, which is right next to it under Special. So we select first line indent. The default is 0.5 of an inch. That's pretty big for a first line indent. And we're going to knock that down to 0.3 of an inch. You could use the arrows or type in there. That's all we're going to do here for right now for these, and we're going to hit OK. So that's just reviewing how to use the paragraph dialog box. Even though they're not on this one, you don't have to do it on this one, but where you do need to do it, you can do that. Now don't forget, when you type these, you have to, if anything in here is bold or italic, make sure you go back later and add that. Also, on a paragraph, do not hit return until the end of the paragraph. Now, in Microsoft Word, a paragraph is where you hit return. So if I click up here, this is the hidden options here. You get this here. Every time you hit return, it looks like a backward P with a solid blue up there. Now, for a paragraph, you only want to hit return at the end. You don't want to hit the return at the end of each line. Now, many students, when they look at a sheet that they're typing, they think they're supposed to get the words lined up the same way here. They don't. Okay, there are reasons why the one on the sheet you're looking at and the one you're typing might be a little different. They may have different margins than you have. They may have a different font. They may have a different size. So just let it wrap. Wrapping means that as you type, it goes to the end and automatically goes on to the next line, and do that all the way to the end of the paragraph. So if your paragraph wraps in different places than the one on the sheet, don't worry about that. While we're here, we'll also mention the margins. I'm going to turn off the hidden figures here, and I'm going to go to the margins. Go up to Format menu, go to Document. Everyone should have 1-inch margins on every one of these documents unless I tell you otherwise. Now, as it turned out, mine doesn't. So I can fix that. I can go here, it should be 1-inch top, 1-inch bottom, 1-inch left, 1-inch right. Now the gutter, don't ignore that. Leave it on 0. I can hit this here and make it 1 inch, or I could highlight and just simply type 1. I don't have to put the inch symbol, it automatically knows that. If I don't want to have to do this again, I can just hit default, and that will default all my new documents to 1-inch margins. Okay, so I now have 1-inch margins on here. We did a paragraph dialog box. Now for bullets. I'm first going to undo the bullets that are here. Okay, pretend they weren't there. Now when you're typing this here, I'm not sure why that's indented. I'll move it over here a little bit. Probably left over from the bullets there. Okay, when you first type these lines, before you do any bullets or numbering, just type them one line at a time. In this case, they're all in caps. You can press the caps lock button on your keyboard while typing it, or hold down the shift key the entire time. Probably be easier to hit the caps lock button. Now here you do want to hit your return at the end of each line. That's how it knows when to make a new bullet. If you type some of these without hitting return, it'll keep them all under one bullet. Now right now I have no bullets or numbering on here at all, but I got these 3 typed. Okay, I'm going to highlight these here. I'm going to go to Format, Bullets and Numbering. Now by default, bullets and numbering are at none, and I'm under the bullets. They have also a numbering option. I'm not going to go into the other ones. We're just going to focus on bullets right now. I have these 3 highlighted. They each have their own return, so they're treated as 3 different paragraphs. I can do a traditional bullets with the first option and hit OK. Okay, if I decide I want to try something different, I can go back to bullets and numbering. I could try like the checks like this here. Hit OK. And any of those options other than none would be okay for this. So if you want to do something a little different than the sheet, you can try one of these other ones and go ahead and hit OK and do that. In the last paragraph here, we got visas in bold. Now here's another thing about selection. If you want to select a word, double click. If you want to select a paragraph, triple click. Okay? Now remember in Word, a paragraph is wherever you hit return. So this line here would be a paragraph. This word would be a paragraph. Okay? Now this last section here with the sincerely and the names, in case you didn't notice, this should line up with your date way up here. So the date way up here is at 3.5 inches. So go down here, and when you go to type this, hit the tab until 3.5 inches. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do for this video here is just very quickly review tabs. I think that covered most of the skills you need to know other than tabs. So I'm just going to very quickly make a new document here. And it's only going to take a moment. Now when you go to make tabs, I'm just simply going to put tabs practice right here. Our first group of tabs is going to be about alignment. Okay. Now you could go up here to the corner here, your ruler, and you can click through. There's a left tab, a center tab, a right tab, a decimal tab, and a bar tab. Okay, but that's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to show you the tab dialog box. The tab dialog box is going to be like this. You go to Format, you go to Tabs. We're going to set our tab stops at 1 inch for the first one. It's going to be a left, and we're going to hit OK. That put it in there. Then I'm going to go back to here. Probably shouldn't hit OK. Probably should just hit to make a new one. I'm going to highlight here. I'm going to put it 2, or I'm going to put it, say, 3. And I'm going to do a center tab. And I'll hit the little plus. Okay, that added it. Okay. I'm going to do one more here. I'll do it at 5. I type in 5. I'm going to make a right tab and hit plus and hit OK. So now I have 3 tabs. They're up here in my ruler, left, center, and right. I'm going to hit tab. I'm going to put left tab. I'm going to put tab again. I'm going to put center tab. Hit tab again and do right tab. Now I'm going to add just a couple words underneath each so you can see how they look. I'll put Michigan under the first one. I'll put Harper Creek under the center tab. And then I will put high school under the last tab. And I'll do one more here. I'll do United States. And this one here, I'll do Michigan State University. And then I will do college. So you can see this here obviously lines up on the left. This obviously is centered with the tab above, and this is on the right. Now these, I don't like the location of these. So I can highlight this here, go up to the tab that applies to it, move it, and I could move these around a little bit, make it look, oops, I accidentally did something there and got rid of it. I'm going to undo it. Whenever you mess something up, go to Edit and Undo, drag this over a little bit, and it got fixed. Just real quick here, and then we'll wrap up this tutorial. We'll do the decimal tab. Decimal tab is all about numbers. So whenever you're going to make a new set of tabs, go up to Format, go to Tabs. I'm going to clear all. Okay, now I'm going to do I'll do it at the 2-inch marker, decimal. I'm going to add it. And I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to press Tab. Now I'm going to do 3.678. I'm going to hit Return, hit Tab again, do 258.23, hit Return, hit Tab again, hit 12.25, and I'll do one more here. I hit Return, press Tab, and then I will do 29983.22781. So all these numbers, rather unusual looking, are all lined up by the tab. So I cleared the previous tabs, I create a new tab, and I did all that here in the tab dialog box. So if I go underneath here, for example, and I were to make another set of tabs, I could go back up here to tabs. I could do a clear all and create new ones. Each time I make a new one, I hit plus. Set for left, center, right decimal. We're not covering the bar in here. The leader tabs we did on one of them in class. We made a right tab with a leader, so when you went across, it automatically put in one of these. Everyone should know how to do that from the class lesson. Okay, that wraps up this tutorial of basic skills from booklet 1. Everyone should know this here. And so review this as needed for the skills.